Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of my weight loss surgery vlog. Tonight I'm going to be talking about all of the tests that you go through before you go for surgery. Not all surgeons do these, some do 1 or 2 of them. My surgeon had quite a few requirements that he wanted to go through. These aren't in any particular order, but basically make sure that you've had an ECG, an echocardiogram, make sure there's no issues. So when they have the anaesthetist do all his work when you're in for surgery, there's no surprises, no issues. Then you'll do a blood test with a glucose fasting test. Then a barium swallow, and then a gastroscopy, and basically that's the majority of the tests that get done. If you have things like high blood pressure, hypertension, some surgeons or anaesthetist requirements are that you do a 24-hour blood pressure monitoring, which I did. If you have sleep apnea, which I do, they'll want to see how well you've been sleeping. They want to see high level of compliance with the CPAP machine, so that they know how much oxygen you're going to need while you're under, because it's heavier than sleeping, but they control how much oxygen they give you. If you can get that information, it really helps the process and your recovery time and everything. So it makes a big difference on the day of surgery of having all the information they have. So the blood pressure 24-hour monitor is just a basic. It's a blood pressure monitor that stays on your arm, and then it wraps around. You've got a strap around your belly, and it just goes off every half an hour, I think it was, or something like that from memory, for 24 hours, and then they take it back to the place and they download the data and send it to your GP and your surgeon. You need a referral for that. That's if they want you to do that. So we'll go from the start. The ECG is a pretty standard thing. A lot of surgeries now, they'll do a medical of you before you even, not surgery, sorry, a lot of doctors' clinics will do ECG as part of their general consult the first time you go there. They'll do your blood pressure, ECG, your weight, your height, all that kind of normal stuff, which I had done not that long before, so it was fine. The next one is the blood test. Now, the first blood test that you do is pretty big. They take quite a fair few vials of blood out of you so that they can test the full spectrum of tests when they do blood tests. So there's a lot of different things like your vitamin D and all of that. It's pretty extensive. I was wondering when it was going to stop, but part of that blood test, and this is quite common, a lot of people have said that they've had it, is what's called a blood glucose tolerance test, GTT. Basically, before this and the blood test, they can be done at the same time, because you do a blood test before and a blood test after for the glucose. So I did them all in the same day. So you do all of your blood tests. You have to fast 10 to 12 hours before. The preference is 12 hours. And then once you get in there, they'll take a blood test and they'll give you a cup of glucose liquid. It tastes pretty average. It's just sweet water. It wasn't the nicest, but it's not the worst thing. And then you wait. Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it was an hour. You have to stay there on site an hour. You can't have water. You can't have anything other than the glucose drink that they give you within that hour. And then they'll do another blood test to measure your tolerance of the glucose in your system. So it's like a diabetes test that tells you exactly where your body's at, what it's doing when you consume that glucose. The next one was a barium swallow. Now the barium swallow, not all surgeons get it done. Again, my one was very thorough, and he did. And a barium swallow is basically they take a X-ray of your body from your waist to the top of your head, and you swallow this liquid, and you got to lay down and swallow it, and you got to stand up and swallow it. The liquid is absolutely horrible. They say it's just like a mint thick shake. It's not like a mint thick shake. It's nothing like. It's like drinking green paint with a bit of flavour in there. It did taste slightly of mint, but it wasn't very nice. And you basically have to lay on a X-ray bed, and then they'll stand you up and do it while you're swallowing as well, so that they can actually see the liquid go down through your intestine or through your stomach and everything. And basically this shows up if there's any obstructions, if you've got any ulcers, if you've got any issues within your digestion system, throat as well. If you get a hiatus hernia, I had a hiatus hernia, which was repaired during my bariatric surgery, which was fantastic. So it shows all of that stuff up, so that the doctor knows, all right, what he's looking for. So that one's pretty straightforward. It's in and out. You're probably there for 15-20 minutes. The longest part is waiting for the disc with your results on it, and then you can go home and watch yourself swallow the liquid on computer. It looks really weird. You can see it go right down through your stomach. So yeah, that's pretty simple. The next one, which was a big thing for me because I'd never been under anesthesia before, is the gastroscopy, or they call it I'll put it up on the screen up there somewhere. I can't remember what it's actually called, but basically they put a or endoscopy, I think it is. They put a camera down your throat and have a look at the inside of your stomach. They look at what the lining looks like. They take photos. They observe everything, what the valves look like, all of that stuff. How big the hiatus hernia is, whether it's obstructing or anything like that. And that gives the surgeon a first-hand view of exactly what he's looking for when he goes and cuts you open and puts those probes in and fills you up with gas, and he knows exactly what he's looking for, and if there's any issues in your stomach. So it's not all surgeons do it, but a lot do. That one there you have to go under for, but you're under for about 15 minutes. Felt like I'd just been knocked out as soon as I woke up, and after about 15-20 minutes you're fine, you feel fine, you just feel a bit drowsy for the rest of the day. You can't drive after that, so you have to have someone pick you up from the hospital. You can't drive for, I think it was 24 hours from memory. Obviously because it's anesthetic. The entire trip, the hospital thing, I got there about 6 o'clock from memory, I think was my admission time, and I was out by 10:30. So you're only there for about 4 to 5 hours maximum, unless there's been any major issues or your surgeon's running late or anything like that. So, which does happen. They're only human. So that's pretty much all of the testing. Part of the pre-testing is things that I covered last week with the psychology. Basically, they use the psychology as a tool for you for them to tell you're ready to take the step, or you're ready to move on to having surgery. And a lot of the times, if they'll they assess everything that's happening with your psychologist. They need to talk to each other, otherwise there's not a lot of point in going. There's a point, obviously there's a point going to a psychologist, but your psychologist also needs to talk to your surgeon so that they understand exactly where you're at and can assess whether it is 100% right for you, or they need to delay surgery in case there's some underlying serious mental issues that they need to sort out first, or at least try and sort out. But yes, the psychology side of things is a big part of this whole thing, and obviously the diet, and leading into the pre-op diet, which is next week's subject and touchy for a lot of people. My process, I started the semi pre-op diet. I managed to get a copy of a similar diet. I started that in July last year, which was a long time before I even went close to having surgery. I just, at the time that I made a decision, I went, alright, this is what I'm doing for food. And basically I was started off replacing one meal a day, and then after about 2 months I moved on to replacing 2 meals a day, and then doing a hybrid of that for the next few months until December. December I went on a bit of a food bender, and Christmas time and all, and then Boxing Day started pre-op, and I had 6 weeks of pre-op, and it was a walk in the park for me. But a lot of other people have issues with it, so you need to be prepared that the pre-op is not going to be easy. You drastically reduce the food, but use it as a practice run, because once you've had surgery, everything's completely different. You eat a lot less food, and that's a big thing for a lot of people, is getting over that line of, okay, I can only eat a small amount. Out of surgery, a half a cup at a time maximum, depending on the thickness of the liquid. Obviously you've got different stages of the diet, which we'll go through at another time. But we'll go through the pre-op diet next week. Everybody's is different, and everything that I do, everything that I've done, and everything that I talk about, there's 30 other stories out there of different methods of the lead into surgery. So don't take what I say for gospel, but it's just my intention of this is to get the information out there that I needed, that I didn't have. I struggled to find the detailed step-by-step information, so I'm hoping this helps out here. Anyway, I intended to keep it shorter than last week, and I'm about 7 minutes shorter, which is fantastic because last week I did a lot of talking. But I hope this is informative, and if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask me on here or on my Instagram page. I will make sure that those links are in the description of the video, so you can follow me on my Instagram page if you want to. If you've got a page that you want me to follow, by all means let me know, send me a message, leave me a comment, and share away, get the information out there. If you know anybody that's having surgery, it's handy just to have a perspective from someone who's just been there and done it and still in the process of losing weight. So anyway, thanks everyone for listening, and I will talk to you all next week. Thank you.